Welcome everyone to the Golden Bronx Cheer Awards, the award show where we celebrate the worst that film had to offer in a specific year. And this year, it's obviously 2023. Now, I should preface this that I did include TV shows in every category this year instead of just the worst TV show category, or specific categories that didn't exactly... Well, I think you get the gist. Also, I did include a couple of video games in a few nominations because... well, you'll see, because I kind of had to. And I do feel obligated to apologize for the delay. This was supposed to come out 2 days ago, but it couldn't be helped. And also, I do feel like I have to give the Razzies a half praise this year, because even though their nominations were total bullshit, I still do not understand them nominating Helen Mirren for Worst Supporting Actress or Peyton Reed for Worst Director. I mean, seriously? And Shazam! Fear the Gods for Worst Picture? Seriously? But I will give them credit that their wins, even though pretty much all of them were Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and a couple went to Megan Fox, so it was mostly them just sweeping it, at least none of their winners were absolutely horrendous. So I can give them a half praise on that. But fuck them for their shitty nominations. So, with that all out of the way, let's get started. Because Disney is such a shit company, why don't we start off with Worst Disney Feature, because I don't think they made a single damn thing that was good outside of the Marvel movies. And only one of them was legitimately great, one was decent, and the other one was bad. But, let's get started with the nominations. And they are The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan and Wendy, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Ahsoka, and Elemental. And the winner for Worst Disney Feature goes to Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Taking half the votes, I can't say I'm surprised. This got a ton of nominations, and as you'll see, it got plenty of wins as well. Peter Pan and Wendy came in second with 39% of the votes, and Little Mermaid lagged behind in third with 11%. I'm not exactly surprised Elemental and Ahsoka didn't get any votes in this category, and I will definitely not complain about Peter Johnson and the Woke Beans getting any wins in any of these categories. So, yep. Worst Disney Feature goes to Percy Jackson. I can't say I'm surprised. The woke mind virus has infected Hollywood for the past several years, and actually, well, it's been around for pretty much ever, but it's become a lot more prevalent in recent years, so next up is Worst Woke Disaster, and there were 10 nominations for this one. Then they are Barbie, Velma, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Insomniac, Spider-Man 2, The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan and Wendy, Forspoken, Robin Hood, Leave the World Behind, and How to Blow Up a Pipeline. The final two came down to Percy Jackson and the Olympians and Robin Hood, which surprised the hell out of me that was the one that got to the second round of that. But the winner still ended up being Percy Jackson and the Olympians, mostly due to its casting and it just completely ditching how the characters are supposed to be for the sake of political ideology. It was a pretty close bout between the two, though, with Percy Jackson taking only 56%, with Robin Hood obviously taking 44%, so it was only a couple votes ahead. And once again, I'm surprised it was Robin Hood that got to the second round instead of either Little Mermaid, Peter Pan, or Barbie, or Velma. So, yeah, Percy Jackson winning Worst Woke Disaster, again, can't say I'm surprised. Now we get to the slew of acting categories, starting off with Worst Lead Actor in a Motion Picture. And the nominees are Ezra Miller for The Flash, Greg Creek for Colonials, Vin Diesel for Fast X, Oscar Morgan for Gotham Knights, and Dave Bautista for Knock at the Cabin. And the winner for Worst Actor, this one should be pretty damn obvious, it's Ezra Miller as Barry Allen in The Flash. Vin Diesel came in second with only 14%, and Oscar Morgan came in third with 7%. Ezra Miller is a terrible actor, and not only that, he was a terrible choice for Barry Allen, and considering his, off-screen antics, let's put it that way, or offset antics, I should say, I'm not surprised he got the wings. He won Worst Supporting Actor last year for The Secrets of Dumbledore, despite being in the movie for all of 5 minutes. Roughly, I don't remember how much it was, but I had a feeling, but he won last year mostly due to that stuff coming out. And, yeah, honestly, I kind of debated because he's a non-binary, which is not a real thing, but he likes to say it was, I was contemplating giving him a Worst Actress nomination just because of that, but I decided to have a little bit more dignity than the actual Razzies. Now we go to the other side of the coin with Worst Lead Actress in a Motion Picture. And again, like I said in the last one, there's a bit of an asterisk over this one. If she's technically not the lead, she can still be nominated because honestly, a lot of the movies I saw this year didn't exactly have a a 100% female lead. So, yeah. So, nominees for Worst Actress are Amber Heard for In the Fire, Melissa McCarthy for Genie, Halle Bailey for The Little Mermaid, Rachel Zegler for Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and Mindy Kaling for Velma. And the winner goes to Halle Bailey as Ariel in The Little Mermaid. Honestly, I didn't expect this one. I expected it to either go to Zegler or Heard. Halle Bailey took 45% of the votes, which was a close bout against Rachel Zegler, who was at 36%, and then Mindy Kaling and Amber Heard both took 9%. I'm shocked it wasn't Amber Heard. I was 100 expecting Amber Heard to win, and she got probably one vote after this percentage. But I'm not going to act like Halle Bailey's performance was any good. I mean, Zegler was pretty bad in Songbirds and Snakes. I'm surprised Melissa McCarthy didn't get any votes for Genie either. But again, I'm not going to complain here. Halle Bailey had a really bad performance as Ariel. She shouldn't have been cast in the first place, so yeah. Let's just move on. They might not have been the stars of the show, but they still drew plenty of attention in the wrong way. This is Worst Supporting Actor in a Motion Picture. The nominees are Jason Momoa for Fast X, Jude Law for Peter Pan and Wendy, Daveed Diggs for The Little Mermaid, Will Ferrell for Barbie, and Michael Shannon for The Flash. And the winner goes to Jude Law for Peter Pan and Wendy as Captain Hook. This one was definitely deserved. I don't know what went wrong with his performance. This sounded like a very good casting choice at the time, but both his look and his acting were completely ridiculous, and it was one of the many, many reasons why that movie was a disaster. He took 60% of the votes, with Daveed Diggs taking 30% and Will Ferrell taking 10%. Personally, I probably would have gone with Daveed Diggs as Sebastian in Little Mermaid, because he was just absolutely awful in that movie. But, again, Jude Law was pretty bad, and it didn't help where he looked ridiculous, which wasn't his fault, I know, but it definitely didn't do the movie any favors. It's not like the movie would have been any good if his performance was good, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Whether they were completely obnoxious or 100% bland, this is Worst Supporting Actress. And the nominees are Phoebe Waller-Bridge for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Awkwafina for The Little Mermaid and Migration, and probably like 5 other movies that I didn't see, Iman Vellani for The Marvels, Virginia Cole for Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and Sasha Calle for The Flash. And the winner, I can't say I'm surprised, goes to Awkwafina as Scuttle, as gender-swapped Scuttle in The Little Mermaid, and as the annoying bird in Migration who should have been cut out of the movie entirely. Yeah, Awkwafina is one of the least funny comedians out there. She took 53% of the votes. Waller-Bridge came in second with 27%, and Virginia Cole, if you didn't know, played Sally Jackson in Percy Jackson, got 20%. And I'm not going to argue with this one. Awkwafina is not fun. The only time I've ever found her even tolerable was Jumanji: The Next Level and Shang-Chi. And you know what the common denominator is? Those are the only 2 movies I've seen of hers that had a decent script. And now we find out which douchebag behind the camera did the worst job, with Worst Director. And they are Zack Snyder for Rebel Moon, Andy Muschietti for The Flash, Angel Manuel Soto for The Blue Beetle, Greta Gerwig for Barbie, and Reese Drake Waterfield for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And the winner, I'm torn on whether or not I'm surprised by this one, is Angel Manuel Soto for Blue Beetle. Now, I have a feeling he won this more for his Twitter activity than his actual job directing, because honestly, if we're going off the directing alone, it probably should have gone to Andy Muschietti or Zack Snyder. But his Twitter antics, including some tweets that had been dug up of him wanting President Trump to be assassinated, and his not so great tactics trying to promote his movie and trying to shut people up that don't like the movie, or especially the ones who complained about the trailer. Yeah, he's not exactly the most liked person in Hollywood nowadays. He pulled in 45% of the votes. Greta Gerwig, who I kind of thought would win this, ended up with 27 in second place, and the rest got 9%, which means each of them got 1 or 2 votes apiece, and Soto just kind of took ahead. This was another one where Gerwig had kind of a substantial lead, and then Soto just kind of took off with it, because that happened a lot with the Premiere Awards, if you saw that. But yeah, it's not like his directing in Blue Beetle was fantastic anyway, so I'm not surprised he won this. If your script is bad, your movie, your show is bad. Straight up. Your movie and TV show cannot be good if you have a bad script. And so here are the nominations for Worst Screenplay: The Flash, Velma, Barbie, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And the winner for Worst Screenplay goes to Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I cannot say I'm surprised. I will say it was a relatively close bout between Velma. Percy Jackson took in 44%, Velma took in 31%, Barbie got 19%, and The Flash got 6%. I can't say I'm surprised because this was such a terribly adapted screenplay by Rick Riordan. Again, the guy who wrote the book, which is still a pretty competently written book. I'm not going to act like it's some big masterpiece like I used to think it was, because I've reread it and it's got issues, but it's still a very competently written book. And he made one of the most incoherently written TV shows I've ever seen in my life. That's embarrassing. This guy apparently forgot how to write good stories after The Mark of Athena, which, again, was only kind of mediocre. Editing may not be the flashiest aspect of filmmaking, but it is an incredibly important one. And these assholes didn't get the memo. The nominations for Worst Editing are Teen Wolf, Assassin, Knock at the Cabin, Colonials, and Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And the winner is obviously Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This had some of the worst editing I've ever seen. It's almost like they got first-time editors who didn't know how to transition scenes properly, so they just cut to black whenever they needed to transition a scene, or even worse, they cut to black anytime Percy used his powers because they were trying to censor the bad CGI, or because they were trying to cut back on the effects budget. The editing in this show was so bad that it was actually distracting, and it took in 67% of the votes, which makes a lot of sense. Knock at the Cabin took 17, Teen Wolf took 11, and Assassin took 6%. So, all the editing in this was so bad. Teen Wolf mainly got the nomination for not cutting shit out, for making a movie that was 2.5 hours long that could have been told in an hour. But, yeah, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, it's almost like they cut too much and not enough at the same time. And the editing is just atrocious. And and I already talked about the cuts to black, don't get me started on the action sequences. Just don't. Next up is Worst Adaptation. We get a shitload of adaptations every year, and a lot of them are really, really bad, especially today. And the nominees are Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Robin Hood, Peter Pan and Wendy, and The Flash. I know in the last one I didn't include comic book movies, but The Flash I think deserved one because it was a direct adaptation of Flashpoint, so I think it counts, because it wasn't just adapting comic books, it was adapting a comic book and did a really shitty job of it. But I think you can all tell the winner was always going to be Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I kind of made this category specifically for Percy Jackson, but I'm still kind of surprised it beat out Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Robin Hood was barely an adaptation. It just took the Robin Hood name, kind of took what it was about, and, put it in the toilet and then literally shit on it. But, yeah, it was pretty bad. And then Peter Pan and Wendy was obviously a really shitty remake of a very good Disney film from the 50s, I want to say. But, yeah, Percy Jackson and the Olympians did a very terrible job adapting Riordan's own novel, I think that's what makes this one even more of an embarrassing adaptation, taking 61% of the votes. I think I said that already. But because Riordan was adapting his own book and did such a terrible job of it. That is pathetic. Bad CGI seems to be a lot more common than good CGI nowadays, which is kind of scary if you think about it, especially how big budget movies have become. It's pretty sad. The nominees for Worst Visual Effects are Colonials, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Flash, The Little Mermaid, and, unfortunately, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I'm sorry, it was a good movie, but the one thing that held it back from being an A+ was that god-awful CGI. And the winner is The Little Mermaid. Yeah, I'm surprised Percy Jackson or The Flash didn't win either. Little Mermaid took 50% of the votes. Percy Jackson took a really close second place with 38%, and The Flash picked up the scraps with 13%. That makes 101%. What's wrong with these polls? Like, I've had ones that only go up to 99%. I've had ones go up to 101. I saw one that went up to 102%. Do the people who run YouTube not know how to do math? But yeah, the Little Mermaid had a pretty atrocious CGI. But honestly, I would have gone with either Percy Jackson or The Flash. Because Percy Jackson didn't have that much CGI, yet it still looked atrocious, especially since they used CGI in places they didn't need to, like the volume effects for the beach. Seriously, just go to a beach and film. And The Flash had a budget of $300 million, and it looked like a PS2 game. I might take animated stuff a lot more seriously than the jokers at the Oscars do, but there's still a lot of bad animated features we get every year. The nominees for Worst Animated Feature are Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, Velma, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, and Elemental. Yeah, I'm surprised Wish didn't get a nomination either, but it was just too lame to put on these. The winner, I think you can all tell, is Velma. This was as close to a unanimous vote as we got for any of these, taking in 88% of the votes. I can't say I'm shocked, though. I still haven't seen a single second of that show, and I probably never will. And there were other votes, obviously. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, and Across the Spider-Verse each got 6% of the votes, but this was never going to be a close bout. Velma deserved it, and it won. Good job. Or bad job, I guess. Now we move on to an exclusive category that was probably just for this year, might not be next year, but is Worst Screen Combo. And the nominees are Ezra Miller and Ezra Miller for The Flash, Reese Frick Waterfield and The Public Domain for Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, Vin Diesel's underacting and Jason Momoa's overacting for Fast X, Dick Riordan and Disney for Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and yes, I intentionally wrote Rick Riordan's name wrong. I don't know, I wonder how many people thought I wrote Dick by accident. No, I did that 100% intentionally, because that's what I call him. And Velma and the audience's retinas in Velma. And the winner, I think you can all tell, is Dick Riordan and Disney. I refuse to call him, especially since they call him Uncle Rick. No, I keep calling him Dick Riordan. And that's 100% deserved, because Dick Riordan and Disney was the combination that made that show so bad. Hell, I think the CW probably would have done a better job adapting the novel, taking 57% of the votes. Velma and the audience's retinas got 21%. Ezra Miller, who I kind of expected to take this one, got 19% of the votes. And Vin Diesel and Jason Momoa's different approaches to acting only got 1 vote with 2%. Yeah, not gonna argue. Nothing else to say. Moving on. Another exclusive category this year is Worst Cameo. And the nominees are all the Spider-Men from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Wonder Woman for The Flash. I could have put all the ones at the end, but honestly, CGI cameos I don't think should have counted. Honestly, had I put the CGI cameos at the end, this one probably would have won it. Anakin Skywalker for Ahsoka, Gabe Ugliano for Percy Jackson and the Olympians, and Jack Black and Lizzo for The Mandalorian. It was obviously Jack Black and Lizzo for The Mandalorian. What the fuck were they even doing in a Star Wars show? I mean, Jack Black maybe still seems like a bad casting choice, but Lizzo? Fuck off, Disney. 76% of the votes, it should have been 100%, but it did have some pretty stiff competition. Wonder Woman and Gabe Ugliano tied for second with 10%, and Across the Spider-Verse and Ahsoka each got 2% for their, lackluster cameos. But seriously, why were Jack Black and Lizzo in a fucking Star Wars show? The show became Season 3 of The Mandalorian was already really bad, but that is the point where the show officially became a parody. And fuck you, Disney, and I'm not looking forward to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie that I guess is supposed to come out next year. It's gonna suck ass. There's always gonna be garbage movies and shows that get way too much praise from the shill sites. This is most overrated feature. The nominees are Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Barbie, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, and The Flash. Now, there's a bit of a story to this one that I will tell right after I tell you the winner, and it's Barbie. Now, the story is that Percy Jackson and the Olympians held a lead for a long time. I had pretty much declared it the winner, but then I went to check just to make sure nothing had changed in any of the ones so I could officially close out the voting, and Barbie had taken the lead. All of a sudden, I hadn't checked it for about a week, and all of a sudden Barbie took the lead, taking 42% of the votes with Percy Jackson barely coming up short with 36%. Honestly, I'm content with either of these winning, but considering Barbie was the highest grossing film of the year, everybody claimed it's some big masterpiece and people are bitching about it getting screwed out of Oscars, I think it deserved the win here. Across the Spider-Verse took third with 12%, The Flash got 6%, and Mutant Mayhem kind of lagged behind with 4%, because I honestly think a lot of people forgot that movie even existed because it was really, really bad. But yeah, Barbie definitely deserved the win here. Even if Percy Jackson was really overrated, it seemed like, at least with that show, people started realizing that it was shit eventually. That hasn't happened with Barbie yet. Remakes and sequels dominate the Hollywood market, and most of them are crap. So the nominations for Worst Remake or Sequel are The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan and Wendy, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Velma. And the winner for Worst Remake or Sequel goes to Velma. Obviously. 53% of the votes does not lie. Percy Jackson came in second with 23%, Little Mermaid got 14%, and Peter Pan and Wendy lagged behind with 9%. Velma is one of the worst remakes of any TV show I've ever seen, and I think the only reason Percy Jackson didn't win is because I guess people didn't really see it as much of a remake as a re-adaptation. But I've seen plenty of people say no matter how bad Percy Jackson show was, Velma was worse. And I believe them, even though I didn't watch Velma. Considering I was able to finish Percy Jackson, I couldn't even watch Velma at all. I still hate Percy Jackson is still my least favorite show of all time, but I'll take your word for it. It might be objectively worse, even if I probably hate I'd probably hate Percy Jackson more. Speaking of the battle between Velma and Percy Jackson and the Olympians, next is Worst TV Show. And the nominees are Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Velma, Ahsoka, Gotham Knights, and Robin Hood. There are a ton of others. I could have made this 10 nominations. Hell, I probably could have made it 20. There's other ones that I missed, like the Gossip Girl reboot that was canceled. No, I didn't watch that, but I've heard it's awful. I could have included The Flash. I could have included so many other shitty TV shows. Yes, if you forgot, the Flash TV show ended last year, not 2022. But the winner was Velma, and I kind of saw this coming, taking 64% of the votes. Percy Jackson obviously took second with 25%. Then it went Gotham Knights with 6%, Robin Hood with 3%, and Ahsoka got 1% of the votes. And one person really hated Ahsoka even more than I did. And again, the fight between Velma and Percy Jackson is just kind of a coin toss in these categories. So it's basically pick your poison. And I guess most people's poison was Velma. And you know what? It makes sense. Now to the big money. What was the worst picture of 2023? The nominees are Barbie, The Little Mermaid, Peter Pan and Wendy, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, In the Fire, Leave the World Behind, The Flash, Rebel Moon, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The final two nominees came down to The Little Mermaid and Peter Pan and Wendy. Yeah, the two Disney live-action remakes had to battle it out. And it was won by The Little Mermaid, taking 69% of the votes, and Peter Pan and Wendy only getting 31%. Now, I know a lot of these percentages will probably look different by the time this video comes out, but these are where it ended. So the percentage could look a little different, but as of right now, this is what it is, and it's what it's going to stay as. So, I can't argue Little Mermaid was a really, really awful movie and is one of the worst Disney live-action remakes, which says a lot. I'm honestly surprised Peter Pan and Wendy didn't win, or any of these other ones didn't take the tiebreaker, like Winnie the Pooh, or Barbie, or Rebel Moon, or In the Fire. But again, yeah, Little Mermaid was a god-awful movie, and I can't say it didn't deserve the win. Good job. Well, thank you all so much for watching the 2024 Golden Bronx Cheer Awards. Thank you all so much for who voted on the nominations. And next year, look for the community tab for next year's Golden Bronx Cheer Awards. And as you may have noticed, there were a lot of nominations for certain movies. Percy Jackson and the Olympians got 12 nominations and 6 wins. And even though it only got 1 win, The Flash took 11 nominations. Little Mermaid got 8 with 4 wins. Velma got 7 with 3 wins. Barbie got 6. Peter Pan and Wendy got 6. Spider-Verse got 6. There were more movies that got a ton of nominations than there were with the Premiere Awards. There were a lot that got like 2, 3, 4. There wasn't a single one that got above 9, which was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This year it had Percy Jackson take 12 nominations. And the only nominations it didn't get were kind of ones it wasn't really eligible for, like Worst Picture and stuff like that. So, yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for voting. And I will see you all next time. Bye.